Hello and welcome to Midnight at the Crossroads. I am Jeremy Crumbling.
You've got David Humphrey.
And Sean Sellers in the house.
Welcome, everybody.
We are excited to be here.
It's been a long month.
You know, it's been a lot of work trying to get things going, but it's fun again and it's exciting, and we're trying to get everything rolling so we can go ahead and put a regular show on and get everything rolling again.
But can you believe that next week is Thanksgiving?
I can't.
Already.
Already. I'm not even hungry yet.
You know what I'm hungry for? That road trip to New Orleans.
Yes, that is the only thing that I'm hungry for.
You know, to all of our listeners, we're actually leaving Thanksgiving morning. We're going to spend Thanksgiving together in New Orleans. We're going to spend a few days down there. We plan on videoing it and making, hey, hopefully all of our listeners get the chance to share a little bit of our New Orleans trip with us along the way.
Yes, it's going to be super fun. No judgment, because we are going to be crazy.
Don't judge.
We're going to be wild and crazy kids in New Orleans.
But what's really cool for our listeners, make sure you check out our Facebook page at Midnight at the Crossroads Radio Show, Haunted Montgomery Tours,
Yes.
and all of our personal pages.
Yes.
And something new, I want to tell all our listeners, Sean's starting to do our writing blog with the short stories and stuff. That's not only on our personal page, that will be on both Facebook pages. Sean, do you want to elaborate on some of the new stuff that you're working on with that?
You know, Hump asked me to write a few stories, and I kind of got away the past few years. Well, I didn't think I really had it, so I was like, you know what, I'll do a little bit at a time. And Hump asked me to do at least one story a week or a month, and before you know it, I started doing one story, two story. So I've got like 3 or 4 out there right now, and it's fun. There, you know, the stories I've got is the New Orleans stories, a Nicolas Cage story, a vampire story, Hank Williams, and you know, it's just going to kind of bounce around and about, and hopefully we'll have some new stories when we get back from New Orleans. But I plan to do 2 more next week. You never know, I might do a 3rd one. I think Jeremy is even going to add some blogs.
Yeah, I'm going to start this week, actually. I have a few in my head that I'm going to start them to sit down tonight and in the morning, and I'm going to get those started. And, you know, we're working on all kinds of projects collectively and individually. So this is a really exciting time. I feel like the air is electrifying right now.
And also, I want to let our listeners know that Sean and Jeremy do readings. And for all our listeners, I had got a couple of Facebook messengers last week about this, about the readings.
Facebook
and
messengers.
Yes, Facebook messengers. That they will do readings. You can either go through Melanie, or you can go through any of our social media websites, or Messenger, so I can get you the information for Sean or Jeremy.
And let me just tell you, I would prefer, personally, I don't know about Sean, but I would prefer you go through Melanie. Now, if you do message me directly, don't be offended, but I'm more than likely going to send you to Melanie, who's our boss, and you know, she just keeps us in line, so it's better for me that way to send it to her.
It's same here. You know, any requests for us to do speaking, investigations, and readings or anything like that, just contact Melanie and let her set it up for us, and we'll be happy to do it.
Yeah. And it's not that we don't want to talk to you directly, it's just that we want to make sure we're consistent with time and everything, so that's the way to get us on our P's and Q's, because if you message me, I may forget the message is there. I may get busy and forget to respond, so just so I can stay on my P's and Q's, if you go through Melanie, you'll more than likely get a top-notch, allotted time frame reading. So I'm just doing that for you so you can get your quality reading.
Awesome, guys. Well, let's jump right into it. What do y'all think about October and the Haunted Montgomery Tours? We just finished off with a bang, I think.
I think that this October was one for the books.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times something will happen when we're doing stuff and we'll kind of tap out, but we really didn't have that this year. Yeah, we were hitting the ground running every single night.
Well, this Halloween has been kind of special for me. It's been such a tough year since April and everything else, and we talked about getting started, and we started getting together again, kind of uniting, coming together, and it's almost like our energies is getting back meshed, and I almost feel like I got my family back again. And
Definitely.
And as we started to work this Halloween and doing things with the tour company, it was easy. It wasn't any conflict. It wasn't any restrictions. We got back to what we always did well about it, is that we had joy in what we was doing again.
It didn't feel like work this time.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And we did have management.
We had an actual manager.
Yeah.
But we couldn't have done it without Melanie. We couldn't have done it without you, Hump. We couldn't have done it without Jeremy. It was a collective
couldn't have done
team.
it without you,
Yeah,
man.
it was a team.
Right timing.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it was the right timing for
Everything was
everything.
lined out perfectly.
We were due to start this back anyway. We had to change a few things. Like I said, we got Melanie on board. Got Sean writing again. You wanting to do the readings?
Yeah.
I think I want to tap into more of the strange investigations.
I think we
It's
work
just-
best when we have structure because we're so all over the place.
Well, we're all different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're
all
totally
and
different.
We're all over the place, and all three of us can have different ideas, and we'll be trying to work on all three ideas at one
Yeah.
time.
But isn't that fun?
It
Like
is.
we got
It
three
really
crazy ass ideas. We're all working on different things, but doing it collectively,
Yeah.
and it's actually pretty fun.
It is.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you know, the whole thing about where we're at right now, it's fun for me personally, just because I'm kind of scared about where I'm going as a person because I'm at a place I've never been before. I'm new again. You know, it seems like we're starting everything new, and it's from the beginning. And we've got fresh ideas, we got fresh goals, we got newfound energy that we've never had. But we have something that we was lacking in the past at different points is that we have each other,
Yeah, definitely.
and that's something that we needed.
well, do you think it's fresh ideas or is it wisdom? We've grown so much the past few years. We're a lot wiser. I think we know exactly what we want to do in this field. I mean,
You know, I spent so many years, trying to, as we spoke to people and did readings and tried to help people, and we talked about growing spiritually. And you spend so much time about growing spiritually, I was almost like a piece of fruit on a shelf at a grocery store, is that as everything else was growing, I wasn't growing anymore. And now sometimes you have to get back and get replanted to grow again. And I think that's kind of what happened with me personally, because if you come across my path 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, I'm not the same person you're going to meet right now. Because I am wiser, like you're saying, and I'm new and I have a different perspective. And I think I have something I've never had before, is I have appreciation of the time I have with us as a team. And I have appreciation of the experiences I have. And I don't think I ever truly appreciated it. And I took a lot of instances and a lot of things for granted in the past.
I think we all do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, the passion is back. It's just like not something that I'm doing habitually. It's something that I love to do, and that's back. And I just feel like I'm a kid again.
But you talk about passion and wanting to strive to do something better. Me personally, I just think we're the right place in the right time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all been a trial. We've been trying this and looking at different angles, and we're just, I think, mentally, spiritually, physically, this was the right time.
Well, let me ask y'all this. Let me ask y'all a question. If you're a new listener and you're just now listening to our show, they were probably thinking, what the fuck are they doing? and and the question is, hell, we don't know anymore.
No,
and that's
we don't.
awesome.
We don't.
Well, what do y'all think we're doing? If somebody new listening to us, what would y'all say that we're doing right now?
Me personally, I would say we're getting the gang back together, and we're figuring out avenues, and we're exploring every single different facet of what we wanted to do in the past.
I think we're looking at things from a different light and a different perspective. And it goes back to something Jeremy says all the time about staying woke. I think we woke up. We're woke. I think we're woke up mentally, physically, spiritually. I think, Jimmy, what do you think about that when you say stay woke?
There's this, in the 70s, there was this woman, her name was Janice Irving, and she came up with the concept groupthink. And what groupthink basically is there are people that do their own thing, and there's people that follow the group, because the group, once the group votes on something that they want to believe in, if you don't believe in what that group believes in, then you're automatically ostracized. And once you become a part of that group, you're no longer woke, because it's one mind, one thought, and when you go against that thought, you're out of the group. Now, us, we've never fit in any group.
No,
Ever.
not at
Period,
all.
point blank. From kids to now, we've never fit in a group. And staying woke is just being aware of all of your surroundings, everything that's going on in the world, on the home front, in your neighborhood, in your city. It's just paying attention to everything and not believing what's presented to you as fact. You can always question it, and a lot of people have issues doing that. They feel like, oh, well, if I question that, then what does that mean with my relationship with God, my relationship with my best friend? People are afraid to challenge what they believe in. And that's what staying woke is. Being woke is giving yourself the opportunity to believe in whatever you want to believe in. Definitely.
To think about that, we hear a lot in what we do about what is your experience with God? Who is God? What's your purpose? And if you truly start thinking about that, what we do in the spiritual world, what we do as investigators, researchers, what we write, we're entertainers, we're investigators, we're researchers, we're explorers, we all these things, but at the same time we're spiritual beings on a spiritual journey, And you talk about what do I need to do to get to know God? How do I know God? What am I doing in this godly life? And the simple question that we're so many times we don't ask ourselves is, what am I doing with God? Is, what are you doing to yourself? What have you put in your body recently, food-wise, alcohol, drug-wise? What thoughts have you let take over your day and shape your reality? What have you done? See, a lot of us are trying to find answers out there in this world in different individuals, different churches, and the answer lies within yourself and your own spiritual journey, that you have to get your own personal relationship with God. But to truly get to know Him, you got to truly start working on yourself, and a lot of people are not willing to do that. And that's one of the things that I'm finding, kind of piggybacking exactly what Jeremy's saying about staying woke. That's something that I'm finding in my own spiritual journey.
Well, yeah, your body is your temple.
Yes.
And a lot of people are feeding it with garbage. A lot of people are not, to me, they're zombies. I always bring it up. It's like we're in the new age of zombie apocalypse of feeding your mind with garbage and just being completely blinded.
And I think people have this perception of the zombie apocalypse, the undead, people walking around, bodies deteriorating, barely moving, but that's not a zombie.
It's the new opium drug epidemic.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at the very first zombie movie, White Zombie, it had nothing to do with the undead. It had to do with technology coming in and taking over, and people jumping on that wave, and they're forgetting the things that are important and the simple things, and that's what zombieism is to me. That's what it means, and that's what we're seeing a lot of. People. We were talking about earlier. We had lunch earlier. We were talking about validation, and some people look to social media for validation. They live off of likes and shares and comments. To them, that's more important than clocking in to go to work to make a check, to get paid. They need that validation to feel happy. And once they don't get that, their world crumbles.
And that's so true. And, one of the things, speaking of today, we ate lunch today. And we also interviewed with a young lady that's doing a documentary, and she interviewed us and filmed some things with us. And something that I got reminded of today, and looking at what happened with David, we first got there, David's energy was all off,
yes.
Right? And it reminded me, everybody out there, we've said this since day one, and we forgot about this. The battle out there is truly a battle between good and evil, and it's a battle for your soul. That's exactly what, and there is an enemy out there. And that enemy, it attacks us from the unseen world, where he affects us in different ways. But David didn't know why his energy was off. He just knew. So that tells you back in the old days that there was something coming. There was a enemy at bay. And Hump and I even talked about this recently, that there's an enemy at bay watching. Well, when we left dinner, we went to Starbucks. Out of nowhere, a guy says that Hump hit his car, bumped his car. But one of the recollection of this is that the guy really had no control of what he was saying or doing.
No.
Even the lady in the front, his
girlfriend sitting in the passenger seat
didn't really realize what was going on. And there was no doubt is that he was influenced by some unseen force or being that deliberately letting David know, letting Jeremy know, letting Sean know, letting everybody there know that you are being watched and you are dealing with this. And it is a battle, a spiritual battle. And for us, everybody that's involved in this battle, we've got to get back to that spiritual maintenance and dealing with that spiritual residue of what we put on us has got to cleanse ourselves and get moving forward.
That's exactly what we talked to the girl interviewing us at Auburn. That's exactly what I said. And if you don't believe the devil is real, I mean, wow, you're blinded. Because that's exactly what happened. But what's so weird now We feel a lot more. I personally feel a lot better now than I did
I'm
2
sure
hours
you
ago.
do.
You know, I mean,
I'm real sure you feel better. You should.
it's amazing how signs. You can always look for the signs. Boy, there was plenty of them.
Yes, yes.
And it was like he was controlled by something else, and then he realized,
Definitely.
Definitely.
But we all. But see, you're at a maturity age that you recognized it.
yeah.
You recognized what was happening.
I was like, wow, look at this. But then again, to be in this lifestyle and to do this, you know, you're right. You got to have that maintenance, that spiritual maintenance, and you got to keep it up all the time. And when you get tired and fatigued and let your guard down, it always happens. You have to. It always happens to me like that.
But you know, we used to, back in the day when we first got started, when I used to travel, we'd always speak and say, you know, we need that validation to make sure we're on the right path. Well, we got some validation.
We did today. I think throughout the month we've had the validation.
Oh, yeah.
Ever since we started back, we've been through some trials and tribulations, but we're definitely on the right path, and we're just going to have to deal. I think we're going to have to deal with that for here on out.
Oh yeah, it's definitely gonna, and that's how we know that we're, like you said, on the right path. 'Cause we're gonna face that.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things too that one of the most difficult thing that we as human beings have to go through and have to do is that we have to deal with something that terrifies all of us, and that's change.
Yes.
And as we say that, just let's say change, and if you start thinking of change, you got to think about it more than just my life's change. Let's say certain symbols. I mean, Hump was blessed to a fact that he was uninjured in a horrific accident, right? And a truck that he loved, and he used it basically as his totem, was taken away from him. But that was change that you needed to go to the next phase.
Rest in peace to the money.
So I'm just saying, there's things happening in everybody's lives as you're being stripped away. You're being stripped away to certain change, and as you're changing, that's part of us evolving.
You know,
Absolutely.
I have to throw this in there. When you think about it, the Money Green Dodge has been pretty much the mascot of everything that we've done over the years. The Money Green Dodge has been present.
It's been there for
every single thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But you know what? It's time for a change.
It is.
This
It's
is
change.
new. This is fresh. We're looking at different things from different angles and lights, and it's just due for a change.
Yes.
I mean, and I accepted it. It took me over a week to figure it out on my own. Like, just what you said. Like, everything going on is basically a strip.
But
You've been completely stripped.
exactly, yeah. And the man that used to drive that Dodge is not the same man that was driving that Dodge then. So now you're changing.
Got to let it go.
You gotta let it go.
Let it go. And we've talked about this through the years. You just got to let it go.
You do.
The devil is real, and he is. The watchers, they're always watching us.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think we're being built for something bigger.
And with that, if they're watching us, I mean, to sit here and think that we won't be tested by them would be ludicrous to think that.
But here's the thing. Everybody that's listening to our show, you're going through the same thing we are. It's just where you are at your state. And that's the cool thing about us doing our show again. Instead of us just blabbing again, we're back to the spiritual side of our show. Where we're standing that side, it's that we're all in this together. Our listeners and us in this room is in this together.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the interesting part about it. And Hump, you got some questions?
You know what? We're going to start out a segment we're going to try to do on our show about where people, of course, ask us questions. And this was brought up a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to get to it. Can you contact a murdered person? If a person's been murdered, can you contact them?
I think you can contact anyone that's been on the other side.
I believe so
don't
too.
Think that there's certain people that you can't contact.
What I think
Would you want to contact certain people?
The gentleman, I think what he was trying to say, this is what I got. Can you contact somebody if they've been murdered, which they don't know if they're dead or not?
Well, see, here's the thing.
What
Go
do you
ahead. You
think
still
about
answer. You know, we have used Shack Hack and psychics at the same time for that purpose, because I believe they can communicate with you. And I think whether in that theory, if they don't know they're dead, it's that they're earthbound or they're not. Here's my thing. I know it. Me personally, I have a hard personal time that a person that you have free will, that they don't know that they're dead.
Right.
I just think they chose not to leave because of the tragic things or circumstances, and they maybe stayed on this plane. But I don't know if I'm from the camp where they don't know they're dead, but I think sometimes they choose not to leave for that purpose, and that they're earthbound. But I'm kind of back and forth on that. But I think you definitely can get in contact with somebody that was murdered. But you have to be careful too, because a lot of the times in those circumstances where it was a violent murder, something's gone on, it was demonically or darkly influenced. So while you're contacting one, you can't open that door without opening the door to everything. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think it has a demonic charge to it.
Now, I definitely think, like, you know, if it just happened today, let's say someone got killed in a tragic car accident, the day of, or even days leading to that, I think at that point in time, it could be up in the air to whether you'll get them completely or not. But I think over time, they do realize what's going on. I think that's why the angels come and they bring them back, because that gives them that, okay, this is what's going on.
That's not murdered though.
No.
See, what I was thinking was, say you're in a grocery store, it's being robbed, you walk up, all of a sudden they shoot a gun off and you get hit by a stray bullet and you're dead.
I definitely think you can
Well,
contact.
I do too.
Here's a great point about where we're at and where we are. With our investigations, with our work, in which we have done a horrible job. We investigated a case at one time in North Alabama where a lady, a prominent family, owned a pizza restaurant. Mm-hmm. And the lady and her husband, they went out of business, and the lady murdered her husband and their teenage son in that house. And she went on about her business for a few days, for a day or two, I think, and then she came back and ended up committing suicide herself. And they tried to sell in the house, and I think we've lost all of our stuff, but we had that EVP, and we would talk about it a lot. And while they couldn't get renters or anybody to stay in the house, but while we was there investigating, we did capture an EVP. And one of our investigators, Patty, mentioned how cold it was in this room. And then we played the EVP back, and and somebody did respond back, but it was a Class A EVP where they responded, yeah, it's cold, but it had a weird accent. You know, it had exactly a Cajun style accent. And when we played the EVP for the actual homeowner, that's when that homeowner told us the entire story. We knew the story of the murder. She told us about the murder. A lady went by her business a couple of days, then she ended up committing suicide too. And that EVP was the guy that was murdered in that house. And she said that he was from southern Louisiana, and he had a distinct Cajun accent, and we captured it. And it was an intelligent response to that answer. So to answer that question, we did contact a murder victim at that point. That was somebody that we've come across, you know, and that's something that was there. Another experience, I don't know if you remember this, Hump, is when we spoke at this event one time, and the officers came in, and they were standing in the background, and they asked to speak to me and Jake. You remember? And me and Jake got in the police car and drove off.
Yes.
And as we was driving off, they said, well, we know we're Masons. We're just the chiefs, or who the chief or lieutenant's a Mason, whoever it was, and he wants to show you something and get your opinion. So we pull up at this house, and then the lieutenant or whoever it was meets us and says, I can't tell you anything about this house. I've been in the military, I've been in law enforcement this long, so-and-so, so-and-so. I've seen things I can't explain. But what I encountered in this house is something I can't explain, something I'll never forget, and something that has shaken my soul. And I just want you to walk in here and you tell me, was it something I imagined, or is there really something to it? We walked in this house, and the house was completely dark. It was different parts of the house was ramshacked, and I can tell you it had one of the ominous, darkest feelings I've ever felt in my entire life. And it was as if that person was still in that house. But the person that was in that house, it was I don't know what it was, but it was almost an evil presence in that house. And it was something that stood out. So to answer that question, it's something that still bothers me. I get goosebumps thinking about walking through that house again.
That case was never closed, correct?
No,
The case is still open?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So we've had numerous occasions.
And you know, also, the event that we used to always do locally in the mansion in Prattville,
Yes.
there have been instances where the story about the guy who got hung outside right there by that window. You know, I've actually heard from him. I've actually spoken to him and seen him. So, murdered. You know,
Another psychic came from Pensacola. Never had any stories or any inkling, and picked up with the exact same thing that you did. The exact same thing. And if you forgot something else, we did an event in Atlanta, and we was working a cold case, and we was using Frank Sumption's original ghost boxes. Mm-hmm. And we used it on that cold case. And remember while we was doing that EVP at that event?
Yeah.
The young lady that was murdered in that cold case came across, said her name, and said, "It's me." You know, that's a murder victim.
That's right, and that was what's so funny. That was in Atlanta, and then the next weekend we started working on that.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah,
and we had to travel back south.
Yeah, we sure did.
And I don't know, I can't remember exactly where we were, but it was, I think it was Highland Home. But it was the missing girls that went missing at the gas station at the last.
That's the case. That's the case.
That's
the case.
Definitely.
That's the case. So we've had, and hell, what about the one that we walked in on another active murder case, and we ended up, and then and while we was doing the ghost box, said they did it.
Yes.
And then we ended up saying, "Oh my gosh, we're there with the murderers."
Yep.
It was supposed to have been a suicide, and then we found out it was an active murder investigation.
And what's so bad is we had to actually go to that city.
Yeah.
And that was a big ordeal. But that actually happened.
Yes. So we've had those.
We walked in on that. So of course the answer to the question is absolutely. You can contact somebody that.
Definitely.
So real quick, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just 1 second. Welcome back. Segment 2 of our questions of the show. Sean and Jeremy, what do y'all think about this? What's your favorite genre of the paranormal field?
Favorite genre of the paranormal field?
Yep.
Mine would be possessions.
Mine's the occult.
Mine right now would be probably the UFO connection with possessions. I guess that's a genre now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is now.
That's what mine is right now.
Man, Sean, do you want to segue into that? Do you?
Yes, when I get rid of the Starburst.
Yes, the
Starburst. Well,
case was thrown in your lap.
Hey, but here's the thing. We're at the stage in our careers in this field that what we're getting is coming back through our experiences. And something that we found out a long time ago through our interviews with people that allege demonic possession and attacks, that their experiences and what has happened to them goes hand in hand with individuals who allege UFO abductions and interactions with UFO phenomena. It goes hand in hand. And that's something that's always kind of piqued my interest, and something that, even from my camp right now, is that I truly believe, and this is my personal opinion, and it's okay if we got different opinions in this field, but the alien agenda and the demonic thing is actually one and the same. Is my opinion right now.
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of, it goes
Definitely.
hand in hand.
When you look at the experiences, and it all goes hand in hand.
Well, what's so funny is we're not going to get into it, but there was a case thrown at you Saturday.
Yeah.
It's a very strange case. I think it has a little UFO storyline behind it. I'm sure we could do a whole show on that later. As soon as we got to do a little bit more research and a little bit more investigation on it.
And it's a really strange thing, and it has to do with a friend of ours that has really nice trail cameras in the area. They have a lot of property, and what he got is really interesting. Whatever it is that we sing, it's really interesting.
What I like about it is its actual fact, like factual, non-manipulative. It's not been manipulated.
No.
The video's real. It's really cool stuff.
And and what the light phenomena that we seen, it couldn't have been bugs. It couldn't have been a drone. In my opinion, I don't think it was a drone. And those light phenomena have been reported throughout history. When you start to deal with dimensions, you start dealing with certain type of orb-like lights, and I feel like that has to do with the dimensions. And I think the UFO phenomena, the alien type entities, and a lot of these things, these shadow figures, whatever else, they come through the dimensions, and that's where a lot of people starts like a lot of times when you start before you see them, you get a rotten egg smell, and you start to say, well, and then that has always been kind of thrown into the demonic bucket. But at the same time, anything dimensional, like if you hear somebody that had an experience with a werewolf or a Bigfoot, they talk about the smell, and I think that the smell is actually the entities coming through the dimensions, and I've always thought that's just my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. What's so cool too about this? There's a lot going on since the eclipse, in my opinion.
Definitely. There's been a shift.
I want to say there's a huge shift, but there's also been, and I'd have to go back and look at it. It was, I want to say, in South Florida a couple of weeks ago, they had the lights in the sky. Europe had the lights in the sky last month. Before, I want to say the first part of October, but I'm sure you can go Google search this stuff. Is that not weird that since the eclipse, a lot of the light sightings and supposedly UFO sightings have been seen the past couple of months?
Yeah, and right before the eclipse, or for a while, you started dealing with the strange booms, the weird humming sounds, and different stuff. I mean, it makes you wonder if it's all a part of this shift that's happening. And with what's happened with the eclipse, things has been off. To me, I think things has been completely off. It's almost like a dread feeling, a concerned feeling, but almost like where you're kind of like the feeling I think you would get if you're kind of alone on an island. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I feel right now spiritually with things around.
Here's a question for you, Sean. It's going to segue into that in your thought. If you have a person that's what I call a hypersensitive person, not really psychic, but sensitive and like almost a seer, that's like, let's say 20, 25 years of age, that wants to get in this field now, what advice would you give them for somebody like that? Is this a good time to get back into this field?
Well, I think number one, if you get in this field, not to be a TV star, get in this field for personal growth and understanding spiritually. It's never not a good time to do it. And in my thing, the number one thing is to start to practice spiritual maintenance, and that's cleansing your environment, meditation yourself, learn to control that spiritual motor you have, because if it runs at a high volume all the time, you're going to stay ill, you're going to stay sick, things are going to be off. You got to learn to control your spiritual motor, and you got to learn to use discernment. And I think that's, angels whisper and Satan shouts. You always have to remember that. And you do have that gift. I know a lot of people, not everybody has that gift of discernment. And I'm absolutely in disagreement with that. I think anytime God gives you a gift and you're born a certain way, you're going to have the natural tools to deal with it. But it's up to you to use those tools to stay in the right place that you need to be in.
All right. There's always the saying that there's a hidden knowledge in everything we do, right?
Yes.
As a young person, can you be a Christian and be an occultist as well? Can you be both?
Absolutely. But let me think.
I believe you can. I think you can be a Christian and be an occultist as well, because this is David's opinion. It's basically prayer with props.
But what is an occultist and what is a Christian nowadays?
Well,
that's
a great
question.
one. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think it's a very, very thin line. I think it's possible to be both, because the line is so thin it's almost invisible.
I agree with that. But what would you tell a young person wanting to do both now? Or what advice could you give to a young person that's battling that question or that self conflict of
figure out what it is that you believe in that doesn't require anybody else's opinion, and from that's your foundation.
To me, and it's one simple thing that they have to do, and especially this day and age, is to be a solitary practitioner.
Definitely.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
That's the only way to do it.
Going with the group.
Yeah, no way to do it.
Yeah, and then if you go with a group, it goes to everything that we talk about that's wrong with society and people and the zombie apocalypse and whatever bucket you want to put in, because people are way out there now.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. If you get in a group, then you're brainwashed.
Yeah.
So basically, you got to ask your own questions.
Exactly.
You have to figure out what you want as the individual, and what
I mean, if you're on the right path, your answers and what your needs is going to be fulfilled. But you also got to always be a searcher and explorer, and you got to search for knowledge.
What about this? If you're searching, are you going to have trial by tribulations? Are you going to have hurdles against you? Do you keep going and trying to push your own individual envelope? Or
I think if you don't have those trials and tribulations, then what you're doing is not authentic, because you're gonna have those. If you're on the right path, if you're doing something that you believe in, you're gonna have those hurdles where you have to question what you previously believed in. That's very important, I think.
I think we live in several worlds. You live in a world where you're absolutely asleep and a zombie, right? You live in a world that's in make believe, where I'm a make believe Christian, or I don't want to get in trouble. I'm a make believe church world person, where I'm gonna go to church, listen to what they tell me, do what they tell me to do, and judge everybody else and do that. Or I'm gonna live in a world where I'm gonna ask my own questions, seek my own answers, and do my own journey, and try to awaken. Look, but as you start to awaken and look on your own, and you step outside the box, once you step outside that box, no matter what camp you're in, you open to a door that you're going to be attacked in so many ways that you never can imagine, because you're going to constantly, every chance you get on the right direction, you're going to always try to be detoured, and you've got to stay in that path.
Jeremy, you got anything on that? Or
No, I think he's absolutely right. That's the most important thing. You got to stay on that path.
All right. So that's where we're at with that topic in question.
I mean, what do you think about it, huh? I mean, you got just as much as me and Jerry.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think individuals should start searching for themselves. And I think you're going to, like at me, you're going to go against the wall, you're going to go against the grain. You're going to have ups and downs, but if you keep your spiritual maintenance and at least clear-minded or positive-minded, I mean, you can get through it, and you can do both. I mean, it's just, it's with us, trials and tribulations, growth, maturity, wising up. So I kind of agree with everybody. Now, this has been a hot topic the past few months. This has been an epidemic problem in the Tri-County area the past 2 months. And speaking on 3 occasions of 3 young people, with the epidemic of bullying with the youth, is it wrong to commit suicide now? Because we lost 3 young people's lives from the 1st of September to the middle or the latter part of October, and just in here in Montgomery. It was a question that was brought up, and I've talked about it the past couple of weeks, because I just don't understand how 10, 12, and 17-year-old kids are pushed to the envelope and pushed to the max to kill themselves. I mean, think about it, 10, 12, and 17.
I've always been on the fence about suicide. And now, lately, it just brings it home. You got so many young kids committing suicide. Could we say that these 8 and 9-year-olds that are committing suicide because they're being bullied, how could you condemn them to hell?
Well, hell, how in the hell do you get an 8 or 9 or 10-year-old to even do it? Where is their thought process?
Well,
and what the hell are they thinking about? Or how do they know to go do that? That's what I'm livid forward with.
They see it on television.
That you know what somebody told me? Somebody said, well, it's on video games and it's on TV and they watch it.
They're desensitized to it.
It's without a doubt a demonic attack. I think anybody that would commit suicide is oppressed, is attacked, is beat down, and at the point they're so spiritually sick they see no other way out.
Sean, at 8 and 10?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think because society we were being pushed forth so fast that our kids are not able to they're not wired to be as mature as society's making them be at this time, and they can't handle it. And that's from all aspects. And then the devil, don't think the devil just goes after adults. I mean, they're after everybody.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think that social media is a satanic attack?
Yes, I think a lot of
I'm talking
ways.
about I mean, hell, it really is, because Facebook is, everybody's under attack with Facebook. If you view your opinion on something, people will go after you.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
definitely.
So
But it's also give you a chance to leave no doubt just how unintelligent you are. I mean, you can't hide from it. You can't hide from
that's
who your
true.
true self is on social media.
You can't.
And they always talk about prophecies. We're all going to be chipped, right? Isn't that what the Bible says?
Mm-hmm.
Or that not the Bible? Where did that come from? Or that we all going to have a certain chip. Well, how do we not know they wasn't talking about social media? I mean, why do you need to be chipped? Because social media has everything they need from you.
Yeah.
They know where you live.
it's
They know
your
where you at.
interpretation of that. It's your interpretation, and you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Try this. Take your phone and turn your Facebook on. Talk about blue jeans, or talk about baseball, or talk about shit like buying a new car. Okay, y'all with me?
Yeah.
Cut your Facebook off and cut it back on your phone, and look in your live news feeds.
You'll have ads.
You'll have ads of what you've been talking about. And that's damn scary. And I've done it on the desktop, especially if you're on like WSFA, like the news website.
Yeah.
Whatever you've looked on your computer is in the ads.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lawsuit going on with Amazon right now on the Alexas, listening to people's conversations.
Yes,
And
I've
the
heard that
government
too.
has been able to use it, so that privacy line is, what is privacy anymore?
There's no such thing as
Because we're all
privacy.
basically chipped.
Yes.
They know exactly where you are.
Yes.
But I'm going to get back to my opinion on the suicide thing real fast. With us doing readings and speaking to people that has dealt with suicide over the years, one of the things that's always kind of struck me, and it kind of helped me kind of I guess shape my opinion on this, is that when people, let's say somebody commits suicide, a lot of their loved ones often says, or let's say somebody just have a loved one pass away, that they almost instantly a lot of times start having experiences, or they start knowing that they're around. I always say loved ones let you know they're around. They're always a thought away, whether by a song or anything else. But oftentimes when somebody commits suicide, there is nothing there. They'll tell you, like, I can't sense them. There's nothing there. There's nothing. What happened? And then before you know it, whether it's a year, 5 months, 6 months, 3 years, they come back to you. And they're healthy. They're again. And I almost think that I can't see God condemning you to hell at any point. Because He gives you free will, but I can't see Him sending you to a place to heal spiritually and then bring you back. And I think that's the process, and that's the way you got to think. Because one of the things I think is often mistaken is that when people start thinking about God, they limit Him constantly. And I always say over and over, and people get tired of hearing me saying that God is limitless. He is not He's not limited. And that's one of the things I think oftentimes religions and everybody else limit God, and He is limitless. And I think that's so important to remember.
How about this? Why are there not a lot of paranormal groups or research groups that even want to tackle religion? And I've noticed this the past couple of weeks, watching some different groups on Facebook, my Instagram, and I'm on a couple of blog sites. A lot of groups just completely will not acknowledge religion. And I'm talking about New Age religion, Christianity religion. I mean, they completely avoid the questions. And it seems like, just with the girl interviewing us today, there's a lot of people out there that have religious paranormal questions. They kind of go hand in hand, because to me it seems like a lot of young people are looking for something again. They're wanting to ask questions. And there's a lot of groups that just will not tackle the questions, where I think our group, I want to push the envelope. I want to touch as many taboo questions and craziness as we possibly can. Now, are we wrong for being like that? Or am I wrong for wanting to be like that?
No, I think a lot of people, a lot of those groups and those people, they're afraid to actually question the religion, because that makes them feel like, well, they don't believe in God anymore. And it's not about that at all. We don't have to believe everything that we've been taught or everything that we think. We have to be searchers. We have to search for knowledge. We have to search for answers. And a lot of that relies on our personal experiences. So we can't go off of what someone else says in the church is supposed to be right if we haven't experienced it for ourselves. We base our beliefs and responses off of personal conviction, personal trials and tribulation, and personal experiences. And if you think of that, if you use that as the marker for everything that you do, then that's the most important thing about your belief is your own personal opinion. And a lot of people, those Christians, especially down south, it's Bible Belt, is beat across your head. You have to believe it. And they think if they go, once again, ostracized. They go against that, they're ostracized. They're thrown out, they're exiled. A lot of people, their families won't even talk to them anymore. So I think that's fear.
All right.
I don't think you can be in this field and not have a spiritual view or opinion. I think it's impossible to do that. But I don't think we have to push or I think what makes us special is that we all share different maybe beliefs and ideas and principles and how we go about our spiritual way, but we all are spiritual beings on a journey, and I think it's hard not to acknowledge, it's impossible not to acknowledge God, and it's impossible not to have a faith in Him doing this work, I think, sincerely.
Let me ask you a question. Don't want to throw either one of you on the spot.
Right.
Christians being persecuted more now or in the 30s and 40s? Are Christians are we under attack more now?
I think once Christians started questioning the doctrines of the church, they lost something that's vital to any religion, and that's integrity to the religion. And once you start doing that, I think that causes a breakdown in the churches and in that, right? And I think it's imperative for certain religions to do that. And the one religion hadn't done that is the one religion that's growing every day and getting stronger every day, and that's Islam. Yeah. But at the same thing, I'm not saying all these different religious organizations are right. I'm just saying what they did was weaken the foundation of their beliefs in their church.
To be more politically correct when they did. Can we stop the church shootings? Yeah, of course, our listeners and everybody in the United States know we just had a horrific ass church shooting a week ago. We're going to see more of that with these atheist nut walls, or is it a fad? I mean, is it an uprising? Is it time for Christians to fight back?
All right. Would you? So you telling me? And now, since we're asking these questions, so you're telling me, you're proudly to stand aside to some of the Christians.
Am I mad at them?
No, you'll stand beside some of them right now.
Will I stand beside
Yeah, I mean,
some
you
of
were
them?
talking about taking up arms on religious things, because I'm just asking because that's a great
This
question.
is brought up. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Security companies all over the United States and off-duty police officers have gotten more work since then of now policing the churches than ever at any part of anything that's happened in the United States. Right after that, they want armed security in your churches.
You know, one of the most godliest men that I've known in a long, long time told me in Hump something. I don't know if Hump remembers this. He's like, truly to rebuild the faith in God and what God's purpose is, that you have to move your churches to the streets.
You do.
Oh,
And get it out of there.
absolutely.
You have to think about.
Now,
the
Sean,
people that
we've
come
talked
from-
about that for years, though, and that's where I got mad about that. And you just said it. The churches have diluted and watered down to be politically correct, and we've taken the churches out of the streets.
Yeah. Now, and here's the whole thing, the whole truth about everything with what's happening with the churches, the guns and everything else. The sad truth is, if the Navy would have done their job, Air Force, whatever, would have done their job, he wouldn't have had the guns, right? He wouldn't have had them, right? But at the same time, would that have prevented him getting the guns and doing that? Probably not. But what would have prevented it if somebody in that church would have had a firearm and could have taken him out a lot quicker?
They would have stopped it.
They would have stopped it. I think I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's the way change should be. But we're almost to the stage that we have to arm to protect ourselves and our families.
We have
And
to.
and before you say I take a side, you better know what that side is, because what you're taking a side for probably not who you really represent in your personal life and who you are. And I think it's time for like I said, it's time for a new third party political system. It's also time. It irritates me so much about the political stuff. Everybody wants to attack political ads and all this stuff. But at the same time, why don't people say, you know what, we need to get rid of term politicians. We're going to shorten terms. You get 2 terms, that's it, and everything electable. And then we can talk. Then, let's say this, and then these people getting all their election money. I think, well, you used to play an ad of Roy Moore, right?
Yeah. He's taking a beating
They
this week.
need to show on every advertisement, any donor over $5,000, they got to show this ad is endorsed by medical company. This ad is endorsed by tobacco company or NRA.
Yeah.
Then you start knowing who these candidates really represent, and then who's pulling their strings.
Well, brother, that's chasing the paper.
But I'm just saying,
I mean,
and
you
then
gotta
we start,
chase the money.
Because you telling me everybody else, there's certain candidates claims to be this Christian, so and so else, but he should be insulted intelligence. It's time to get back home. You know, the real movement to the church needs to be to the streets again.
Absolutely.
It needs to be ministering to the kids. It needs to be saying, you know what, no matter what my sexual preference are, I'm going to show you what values me as a person, as a man, and this is who I am as a man. You know, I go to work every day. I love sincerely. I take care of things. This is who I am as a person. And you start showing these kids what it's like to have to actually have true building blocks of society.
Well, damn, brother, that's building character. We're not instilling character with
That's
anything.
where we got to go.
You got to think about the type of people that come into the church. Broken people. And the church no longer wants broken people.
No.
That's what Sean's saying. We got to get back into the streets.
We have to.
That's where it's at. That's where God's at. That's where you have to do His work, is back in the streets.
I agree with you with that. I absolutely agree with that.
And you know, for us, somebody listening to our show, we're going to make a lot of people mad. I mean, I don't mean to, but it's our opinion. We all have the right to share our opinions, because no matter what, I can tell you, me as an individual, 90% of the time, my words come from a place of love.
And you know what? We're going to push the envelope. We're going to talk about stuff that a lot of people don't want to talk about. You know, of course, I'm available anytime. Anybody that knows me can get in touch with me. And it's funny that we're going into this, Sean.
All right.
Here was another question that was sent, and this was sent Tuesday last week. In this field and time that you've lived in it, how much individual growth have you noticed? That coincides with the whole show today,
Yeah,
really.
the whole show.
Is that not? That's pretty awesome.
Now, is that a question for us or other people in this field?
I think it's for us, but the individual growth for all of us individual in this field that I've lived in it, I've noticed I've changed. I mean, believe it or not, I've truly changed, you know, in the past couple of years. But it's a growth thing. It's a wanting to know more, questioning more authority, questioning anything, and then researching on your own and your personal growth and spiritual growth as an individual. And the problem I get is when I get tired or wore out, like my maintenance stops, and it almost like I automatically get attacked.
And you do.
You know.
But you know, one thing
That's my
I've
own fault.
noticed over the years, is people have been in the field as long as we have or longer, is a deterioration of character. And I think that either you're growing or you're dying, and that's any aspect in life. Let's say if I'm a man listening to this show and I'm at home, and I don't have any dreams, I don't have any more goals. My goal is to get up every morning, go to work, come back home, watch TV, and then get up the next day, go to work. You officially are dying.
Shit, you're a robot.
You have got. I'm challenging all of our listeners is to get out and start living. Write you down 3 goals that you want to do. Get out and do something. Get out and start growing again. Hey, everybody needs to flourish as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how small it is, you got to be doing.
And it's not about money. A lot of people question, well, I should have more money. I should do this and that. And I completely do not agree with that.
There's not anybody making as less money as I do right now.
But But you're
but
happy.
I'm flourishing right now.
You're
And
flourishing
spiritually.
and
but,
you're happy.
But it's a struggle. Like you said, it's still a struggle. Your struggle's not going away.
But are you a better person
Oh, I'm a
now?
lot better person.
Are you in a better place?
I'm a lot better place.
Spiritually better.
Yes, absolutely.
Mentally better.
Mentally better.
And got a lot going for you. And we all do.
If we're willing to work for it.
No, you have to work. This is the problem I got with lazy Americans.
Here's my biggest fear with us story right now. Since this is Truth Sunday, and that's
Truth
always been our
Sunday.
joke, right? God has given us three something that a lot of people don't get.
What, a second
A
chance?
second chance.
Yeah,
in this.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I'm so terrified when Jeremy sent a text last week about how he's missing everybody. That's just kind of made me continue to think about how we cannot waste a second chance. We have got to take every moment like it means something. If we do this show, we put all of our earthly being in this show. If we go out and do an investigation, we're going to give you all this. If we go speak, I'm going to be completely honest about what I think and my opinion, but I want to let you know what I'm telling you. I don't mean to hurt or offend anybody. This is just what I personally think.
We're just not going to sugarcoat it.
No, absolutely.
I mean, it's as real
If we're going to
as...
sugarcoat it, we shouldn't be doing
Oh,
it.
shit. I mean, you're lying to them and yourself if you try to even
Absolutely.
sugarcoat any of this. We're at a really different time of our lives. I think our listeners that have listened to us on a regular basis will know the show's changed, the dynamics have changed, and you talk about putting effort in. Just by the shows that we've released, they're totally different from the shows we did in 09, 08. We're more informative. People are asking more questions.
Well, hell, I think if you listen to the show that we was doing this summer, we're completely different.
Yeah, summer to where we're at now.
Yeah, hell yeah,
Correct.
it's completely different.
The beauty about it is we're going to try to record at least either once a week or once every 2 weeks. We're going to get these shows out. Don't forget, if you have questions or problems or issues, you can go through Melanie. Of course, you can contact me on any social media site, Midnight Crossroads Radio, Haunted Montgomery Tours. We're available anytime. And we really are. There's been a lot of questions that have come through later at night.
And I want everybody to please keep my brother Jake Bell in your prayers and thoughts.
Yeah.
And also, I want Jeremy to, if you can, possibly go ahead and give a big shout out and introduction to our new team member. He's helping us right now. He's in the background telling his company and everything else.
And explain everything and explain the opportunity we have with 1015 Productions.
Yes, our producer, Seven, he's been working with us. We have a lot of exciting projects coming up. We're going to get back into filming. We're looking at doing shows, documentaries. We're looking at doing true crime specials, promotions. I'm working on music. And in my music, the interesting thing is, in my music, this paranormal is a part of me. So that is definitely going to show throughout my music. We're going to incorporate a lot of things that we do into all our avenues. So I just want to shout him out, our production, 1015 Productions, and you'll be seeing a lot coming from us soon. So we want you to actually like that page as well, 105 Productions on Facebook. Like that page, you'll be able to keep up with a lot of the productions and a lot of the speaking engagements and film things that we have going on. So make sure you stay posted and stay woke.
All right. And also, if you want a copy of Sean's book, Chronicles of the Supernaturalist, I have a few left. They can be autographed. They're $20 each. Contact me via Midnight at Crossroads Radio, Haunted Montgomery Tours, or David Humphrey Facebook.
Hey, we love you guys. Thanks
We
for
love
listening
you.
to our show. We're
Thank
going to
you.
keep
Thank
it
you so
rolling.
much. We appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Everyone have a good week.
Holla.